Hello and Assalamu alaikum everyone. I am Kashif Kamran and welcome to the session 2 of the Advanced Audit and Assurance webinar to success for exams in March 2025. Now this is the session 2, and if I just look at the agenda, this was the agenda I spelled out yesterday. We had a quick glance of the paper structure and the syllabus yesterday on the day one. Overall optimism with the improved pass rates, that was yet another agenda of the day one. We had a walkthrough from December 24 to March 25 just to see has anything changed or anything has been added. Then we had a focus list for March 25 exam with a disclaimer. Now we're starting the day two today with reading the mind of the examiner. We are looking into the time management and we're looking into the professional skill marks. So let's open the day two agenda. Now, this is what day two agenda looks like. Reading the mind of examiner, particularly for the key advices the examining team give to the students to excel in the AAA exam and why student underperform in AAA, why student fail in AAA. That needs to be investigated thoroughly. More importantly, time management needs to be investigated again because still a lot of students are complaining about time management. They're facing the time management dilemmas despite the fact the subject matter has been communicated so much from my side to the students. And then looking into the professional skill marks. Let's first open read the mind of the examiner. I was just having a read of the September December 24 examiner report. I hope you all have read the examiner report yourself. It is important. When I was reading through this examiner report, I got two very good things from the examiner report, which I would like to share with you all. Number one is that why students fail, because we can learn from that and we ensure that we are not repeating the same mistakes in March 25. And secondly, the advice of the examiner, how to excel. Both are equally important. Now, first of all, as a tutor, I have been reinforcing this subject matter that the student has to read the examiner report or reports, but the students are not reading it. At least take a time out, download the September December 24 examiner report, keep a pen with you, and start reading it. Just when you're free from study, just give it like 90 minutes, and in the 90 minutes just read through the examiner report and try to identify the concerns and the issues the examining team is raising and try to note them down. Because when you sit down and you practice the recent 7 to 8 papers, you should have a checklist of the issues and concerns of the examining team. Then only when you're writing the answer, when you're drafting the answer, you are ensuring success. But if you are writing the answer in ignorance of the issues and concerns of the examining team, that's a big problem. So I hope you will find 90 minutes. You will read the examiner report. You will try to find a summary of the issues and concerns which irritates the marking team, and you will not repeat the same when you are practicing and in your real exam. So reading the examiner report will give you a lot of good information about why students fail, what are the qualities of a good student, what the good student do to impress the marker. And you can learn lots of good things which can really have a very positive impact on your March 25 exam sittings. So please ensure you try to bridge your gap with the examiner, because if you're not reading the examiner report, you're not reading the examiner mindset. And if you're not reading the examiner mindset, eventually in the March, you will fail. So if you don't want yourself to be in the 60% of the student who fails the AAA paper, it's very, very important for all of you to pick up the examiner report, sit down and start reading it. Now, for the sake of you all, I have made a summary, which I would like to share with you. Why students fail in AAA? We know, despite the fact we saw the optimism in the passing rate yesterday, that the passing rates are inching towards 40%, which is very good for AAA. Still, 60% of the student fail the triple exam. Why? Let's see the answer from the examiner report. Why students fail? Number one, they fail because they're giving a generic answer. Examining team does not like a generic answer, does not like a flood of knowledge coming from your books, coming from the tutor notes into the into the answer. They just want your answer, which is very well connected to the information which is given to you in the case study. So please ensure you're not writing anything generic, anything bookish, anything which is like a knowledge on a topic, on a subject. It's just about identifying and extracting your answer in line with the requirement from the case study. And any student who reduce the generic stuff in the paper and who increase the specific stuff in the paper will pass at the end of the day. And I've been always very vocal on this, that you have to write a particular answer on the day of exam, which is coming from the exam information. Number two, misunderstanding the requirements. You need to read the requirements well in the reading and planning time. At times, within one requirement, there could be multiple things. Try to be very careful about the word and. Try to be very careful about the comma. At times, the students are in so hurry that they don't look at the comma, they don't look at and. There could be a split in a question. There could be multiple things being asked in one question, and you're ignoring it. At times, the examining team has given a note under the requirement to do this or not to do this, and we don't read that. So please ensure you make a habit from today, that when you are reading the requirements, read them twice. So you understand exactly what needs to be done. And then when you're writing the answer, you can really connect your requirement with the case study. Number three, lack of depth in analysis. I always tell my student that, for example, if you're writing a business risk answer, each well-developed business risk should be 3 to 4 sentences long, because you need to find a business risk, you need to explain why it is a business risk, and then you need to write the impact of the business risk on the business objectives. That this will take 3 to 4 sentences. A sentence is where you put a full stop, right? Same goes with audit risk and risk of material misstatement. You need to write the accounting treatment. So probably the audit risk and the risk of material misstatement answer will be a bit longer than the business risk answer and might take up to 5 to 6 sentences. Yes, if you're writing about detection risk, it might finish up in 2 to 3 sentences. But if you're writing something about government grant or something about deferred taxation or something about an accounting treatment, it might take up to 5 to 6 sentences, because you need to write what is wrong in the accounting treatment. You need to tell the right accounting treatment. You need to tell the risk. You need to tell the impact, what is understated, what is overstated. And you also need to comment on the materiality. So that will take 5 to 6 sentences. But yes, when you're writing an action or you're writing a procedure or an action could just be 1 sentence long. So the depth will vary from topic to topic. But again, at the end of the day, if you're just idealizing the depth of the examiner answer, that is also a reason why students fail. Because examiner depth of answer is not to be idealized, because that is another reason why we fail. So we're not writing that long. We are writing what we can write within 195 minutes. So any student who knows how much to write in 195 minutes will pass the paper. Number four, inadequate preparation. We're not preparing ourselves well. We are not preparing ourselves for the accounting standards. We are not revising the accounting standards. We know this has a very powerful impact in a question on audit risk and risk of material misstatement, in a question on audit evidence, and in a question on audit report. So you need to be stronger in your technical knowledge. You need to be stronger in your accounting knowledge. You need to have a good grasp of the syllabus. I did unfolded the syllabus yesterday when I was talking about the paper format and the syllabus. So you should have a good depth of the syllabus with you. You must have read the articles because at times you don't have a knowledge of the subject matter that also results in your failure. Number five, failure to engage with exhibits. You're not engaging yourself with exhibits, particularly in the question number one, where we have something like 4 to 5 exhibits. One of the exhibit is the partner email, where we get the requirements. And in that partner email, the requirements tell us what to do and what not to do. At times, the partner tells us that you should not do this. Or at times, the requirement tells us that you have to use a particular exhibit for the answer. And at times, the requirement tells us that you have to use all the exhibits for the answer. Now, you have to read that well. That should I use all the exhibits for my answer? Should I use a specific exhibit for the answer? You need to pay attention to the requirement. So, utilizing the information in the exhibit to the maximum. Read the exhibits very well. Go through the exhibits very well and try to find maximum possible information which can help you develop your answer. Poor time management. I'll be coming to that shortly. Time management is the biggest challenge in the AAA paper. I will be giving you exam techniques, how you can improve upon time management. So time management definitely is an issue because a lot of time the students struggle to complete the paper. 75%, 80% of the paper, if you do, you have a risk of failing. You need to increase that percentage to 90 to 95%. Even if you miss something like 5%, that's perfectly fine. Ignoring professional skills. Now, again, that's my subject matter today. I will be guiding you about professional skills. I will be guiding you about how you can gain professional skills today. And even I will be guiding you today on time management. So, time management and professional skills are among the reasons why we fail. So, you need to look into this very, very carefully as students appearing for the March 25 exams. Insufficient practice. Quality, not quantity. I've been emphasizing on this that go to the ACCA practice platform, start from the September December 24 paper, the latest one, and go backward. If you do 7 to 8 papers from the most latest and going backward, you're perfectly prepared for the March 25 exam. It's not about going into revision kits. It's not about going into very old papers. It's about doing the recent 7 to 8 papers plus the mock exam. That is the sufficient appropriate practice you need to pass. But if you are into theoretical content and you have not yet started your practice when your exams are just 25 days away, you are calling yourself into a disastrous position. It is high time that you should all start practicing the past papers, which I've been focusing a lot. So these are reasons why we fail, right? Try to ensure that you go through these reasons again once you get the presentation of this webinar. Try to see that the reasons are well understood and you're not repeating those reasons in your real exam. Time management and professional skills, I'll be dealing with them shortly. Now, towards the positive side, what are strategies to success in AAA? What is the examining team telling us that how can you achieve success in AAA? That's just the vice versa of why we fail. So if we just uh, make the opposite of the points we got in failure, we get the strategies to success. But just let's see the specific points of the examiner for success in the March exams. Number one, understand the structure. I did mention that yesterday, that you need to be familiar with the structure of Section A and Section B. You need to be familiar that the syllabus area D is very important. You should be very good on syllabus area D. You should excel in syllabus area D if you want to perform well in Section A. You need to be very good in syllabus area E and F if you want to perform excellent in section B of the paper. So you need to know the structure of the paper well. You need to know the syllabus areas and how they impact on the section A and B. Examining team has already written an article approaching the section A question. Now, such sort of things are very important. At times, the student don't pay attention to such things, which should be. Read and plan. I'll be guiding you today on the reading and planning time, that how crucial reading and planning time is of the total 195 minutes you have in the exam hall. So reading and planning time and what sort of things you need to do in reading and planning time, that is very important. At times, the student impair the quality of reading and planning time, or at times they just compromise the reading and planning time, which results in a failure. Follow instructions. Read the instructions very well, particularly in the question number one, particularly the note numbers. Please pay attention to the note given under the requirement. Please pay attention to the partner email very effectively. Apply technical knowledge, particularly the accounting treatments. You should know the right accounting treatments. You can write the right accounting treatment. So if the management has done a mistake, you need to tell what is the right accounting treatment, what mistake the management has done. You should have a good technical knowledge in the reporting area, where student tries to mess up the situation. The student try to mess up with opinions, emphasis of a matter paragraph, MURGC, CAM. The student tries to just mix the CAM with emphasis and opinions and every other thing. You need to have a very clear structure of audit report, because that is a technical knowledge. Accounting standards is another technical knowledge where you need to be very strong at. Rest of the paper mostly is all conceptual. For audit risk, for ROM, you don't need any much technical knowledge. It's just about involving yourself in the case and getting out the answer. Even for procedures, you don't need any technical knowledge. It's about involving yourself in the scenario and getting the answers for procedures. Number five, practice past questions. We just got that in failure, that we are not practicing much. So if you're practicing much, including the mock exam, you're passing. And again, practicing much, just as I was emphasizing, is about quality of practice. It's not about quantity of practice. My approach as a tutor has never been revision kits. If you love revision kits, do them. I'm not creating a barrier, but as a tutor, I never recommend revision kits. Review model answers. You can review the model answers of the examiner, but with the review of the model answers, you are not idealizing the length of the examiner answer. Examiner will write a lot, will write more than the number of points required. For a 6-mark procedure answer, the examiner will not write 6 procedures, examiner will write 12 procedures. That's not the right way. Why is examiner writing 12? To educate you, to give you the possibilities, to give you the learning. You can learn how the examiner writes the answer, how he develops a point, how he writes a conclusion, but not the length. You have to reduce the examiner length of answer by 1/3. So if examiner has written 300 words, you need to write 100 words. Examiner has written 3 pages, you need to write 1 page. Then only you can fit within 195 minutes. So you need to review the model answers, because they will give you learning, they will give you how to write, they will give you how to present, but not idealizing the length, not idealizing that how long the examiner write, because that will be wrong. And not even quoting the ISAs and the IFRS. We know there are no marks for quoting the ISAs and IFRS. Examining team do quote them for education, for purpose of guiding you. But examining team is very clear that the students will not get any marks for quoting them. Develop professional skills. Any student who knows how to demonstrate professional skills when they're writing the answer, because for professional skills, you're not doing anything extra. It's just about the answer you're writing is so very good. The answer you're writing has all the ingredients to impress the marker. So if your answer has all the ingredients to impress the marker, you are good on the professional side. You are not writing something extra to demonstrate professional skill. That is a very wrong myth. The student believe we have to write something extra for professional skill. We need to do something extra for professional skill. Not at all. Not at all. It's just about the beauty of your answer. It's just about the quality of the answer you're writing, how well connected it is to the case study, how well the case information has been absorbed within your answer. That's one of an easiest trick to attain most of the professional skill marks. So on your screen, you can see the strategies for success. I hope you will pay attention to the examiner report, all of you. I hope you will give time to the September-December 24 examiner report. You will sit down, read it through, try to identify the reasons, try to identify the issues, and you will overcome them. Is that clear to all of you? Are you all sound and clear with why students fail and the success strategies? Have you got some lesson out of it, all of you? Will you try to ensure that the practice you need to do over the next 25 days will incorporate all this? Okay, great. Thank you so much, Neha and Zoha. Okay, now let's just move on to time management. Time management is a challenge in the AAA paper and is one of the reasons why students fail. Almost every second student will WhatsApp me and ask, I'm struggling with time. What is the best way? What is the best mechanism that we can ensure a good time management in the AAA paper? Let's just have a broad discussion on it. Now, this is how time management should look like on a question-wise basis in AAA. For question number 1, question number 2, and question number 3. I've given you a table. This is the split of time. You can see the reading and planning time, and you can see the writing time for question number 1, 2, and 3. And in the red, you can see the total time. And the total time has then been split into reading and planning and writing. 1/4 of the time is to be spent on reading and planning, and 3/4 on writing. You must have learned this by now because I've been focusing on this for such a long time now. What is the best strategy? Why are we not completing the paper? Either we are writing too much or we are idealizing the model answers. One of the reasons are we writing too much? Either we are unaware that where we need to stop, or we are just idealizing the examiner answers too much. The best way you can learn time management is that you do a question number 1 at home and keep a timer of 97.5 minutes. And when the timer buzz, stop. Put a line and say time ends here. See the percentage of question number 1 you completed. Do another question number 1, then do another question number 1, then do another question number 1. If you do 7 question number 1, keeping the timer 97.5 minutes, you will see a remarkable improvement. If you manage to complete 90% of question number 1 by the time you go to the 7th paper, 7th question number 1, and you manage to complete 90% of it within 97.5 minutes, you're fine. I'm not expecting more than that. I'm not expecting 100%. If anyone is doing 100%, excellent. But I'm telling you the real situation, 90%. Same goes with question 2 and 3. Do a question number 2, 48.75 minutes. Do 7 question number 2. Do 7 question number 3s. But time management has to be done at home. The more time management application you do at home, the better you will be on the day of exam. So 7 question number 1, 7 question number 2, and 7 question number 3, recent 7 questions, right? Recent 7 papers, all under 97.5 minutes, 48.75 minutes, 48.75 minutes, and see where are you reaching. From the first question to the 7th question, you will find a remarkable improvement. And that's what is needed at the end of the day. If you're not doing time management practice at home, or if you hardly do one paper under time management, what are you expecting in the real exam? Are you preparing for the stress? Are you preparing for the anxiety? Are you preparing for the real challenge of the exam coming in March 25? Not at all. 7 papers under time management. Then only you can say, I have done a good amount of practice for AAA and I know how to manage time effectively on the day of exam. How can you manage time effectively on the day of exam seriously when you're not putting emphasis on time management when you're practicing at home? Honestly, tell me, the participants who are in the webinar today, how many of you are doing time-based practice at home? Give me an honest feedback. How many of you are doing time-based practice at home? Tell me that yes, I'm doing, or say no, I'm not doing. How many of you are doing time-based practice? We are on the 10th of February today, right? Okay, so far is all yes, that's good. At least my message has been disseminated well. What about the others who are not responding? Are you doing time-based practice at home? Okay, first student saying, no, I'm not. I hope you start doing it soon, Nihal, sorry. Jacob, I hope you start doing it soon. Did you got my message? If any one of you is not doing it, have you got my message? Will you implement it? Is it important? Because if you're not doing time management practice at home, what will happen on the day of exam? Disaster. What will happen on the day of exam? Panic, stress, not completing the paper, running out of time. But you have to do it now. You have to do the exam simulation now. So if you do the exam simulation now for 7 papers, you're all set. I hope you start following it. Shazad is saying, I'll do it as the first thing tomorrow morning. That's really good. Now, some more discussion on time management quickly. Time management remains a significant challenge in AAA, and I've just addressed that the reason is that you're not doing time management practice at home for 7 recent papers. Keep in mind the 1.95 minutes per mark guideline and plan your time effectively. I've already given you a split of time for question number 1, 2, and 3. Just know that. Allocate 1/4 of the total time on reading and planning and 3/4 on writing. I've already shown you a split of that on the table. When the allocated time for a question expire, it is essential to stop and move on to the next question. This strategy increases your chance of passing the exam. Number fourth bullet is the golden rule of success. Even for the December 24 exams, I published this on social media. Stop and move on. And I'll be publishing it this time again because this to me is a very important strategy. Stop and move on. 97.5 minutes ended. Wherever you are, put a full stop, go to section B, start doing section B. You are not completing your answer at the expense of section B. You're not excelling on your answer at the expense of section B. Every question has its own time. Whatever have you managed, stop, move on. You have opportunities in section B. You have opportunities in question 2. You have opportunities in question 3. Why are you killing those opportunities? Why are you killing those opportunities at the expense of completing the question number 1? This way, you will never pass. Try to ensure that within the stipulated time, wherever you have reached, so suppose in 97.5 minutes in your real exam, you reach 80% of the question number 1, stop, move on. Start the question number 2, 48.75 minutes. In the question number 2, in 48.75 minutes, you completed 90%. Stop. Move to the next one. Question number 3. Question number 3, 48.75 minutes, you completed 94%. You left with 6 marks. Stop, end the exam. This is the wise way. This is the wise way in which at least you have taken on the opportunities in every question. You have, at least when the marker will sit down with your paper, he will see that you have done all the 3 questions. And from all the 3 questions, you have an opportunity of scoring marks, which will take you to 50 and 50 plus. Stop and move on. 7 papers you will do at home must follow a stop and move on strategy. Are you all getting my point? Are you all getting the emphasis I'm putting on the point number 4? Is everyone clear with the point number 4? Right? So please ensure you follow the stop and move on. It's not just about saying how good this strategy is. A strategy cannot be good unless it's implemented. At times, the students just listen to a strategy, but they don't apply it. This is the time to apply. This is the time to apply when the exams are 25 days away. This is the high time that you should start applying them. I hope you will all do this stop and move on strategy. I hope the example I've given you for question number one, two, three, and stopping and moving on, not killing the opportunities in other question is well understood by all of you. Are you all 100% clear with point number four? Will you start implementing this strategy, all of you? Great. Thank you. Okay. Although clear guidance on this topic has been repeatedly provided by me in almost every webinar I have done, it is crucial to adhere to these instructions at home to excel. This is the time to adhere to the instructions, not leaving it for the day of exam. You can expect you can expect to master time management techniques if you work on recent 7 papers with what I have just guided you. Stop and move on. You can really excel on that. Conducting mock assessments, doing the 7 recent papers as your mocks, do your 7 recent papers under time management, do the 7 recent papers as like a real exam simulation will have a remarkable impact on your success in the March 25 exams. Shazad, I just come back to your answer. Give me 5 minutes. Just let me wrap up the session. And at the end of the session, when I take the Q&A session, I'll be taking on your question. You can repost your question. It's a very valid question. I would like to answer it. Thank you. So please ensure that the 7 recent papers are taken as mock, implementing the time management. Stop and move on. Do them in real exam environment. Do the real exam simulation on the 7 recent papers. Mark my words. Otherwise, you will face difficulties on the day of your real exam. Is this message disseminated? Is this message effectively gone in your mind, absorbed in your mind? So from tomorrow, when you take a fresh start, 11th of February, from 11th of February to the 28th of February, I hope you will do what has been guided to you. And you will see a remarkable impact. And you will, once your results are out, you will come back to me and tell me, sir, I've passed my paper just because of your time management techniques. So please do that. Okay, professional marks, the final discussion we have today. And professional marks is a subject matter which is less well understood by the students. They have a lot of myths, a lot of confusions, a lot of misunderstandings around professional marks in AAA. I try my best to clear it off in the next 10 minutes of this webinar and try to ensure that we are excelling on professional marks in the March 25 exams. Now, first of all of you are very clear with the 4 professional skills we have in the AAA paper, which are communication, skepticism and judgment, analysis and evaluation, and commercial acumen. We know the communication skill is only tested in question number 1 for 4 marks. You will not find communication skill in section B. Communication skill is only in section A because you need to write the answer in a format of a briefing note. And you need to adhere to the instructions of the partner. So that's why you have communication skill in question number 1 for 4 marks. Now, you know question number 1 has 10 professional marks, of which 4 are communication skill marks. The remaining 6 marks are for skepticism and judgment, analysis and evaluation, and commercial acumen. Then you go to the question 2 and 3. In each of the question 2 and 3, you have 5 professional skill marks, which are for skepticism and judgment, analysis and evaluation, and commercial acumen. You have no communication marks in other questions. I hope you're clear with this structure. Now let's go one by one in each of the skill and see what's the best way to demonstrate them. Starting first with communication skill. Now, communication skill is the easiest one to gain marks on, and I expect my students to gain 4 out of 4 on communication skill. Let's see what's the best way. Get this. To earn the marks in communication skill, what you need to do. Number 1, Structure the question number one response as a briefing note. And you all know how to write a briefing note. You all know the structure of the briefing note. And when you do the 7 recent papers, you will be excellent on the structure of the briefing note. And I've guided this structure on the briefing note so many times to my regular students and my free students. Number two, follow the partner instructions outlined in the email in the exhibit number one. In the exhibit number one, you get the partner email. Read that very carefully. See what the partner likes you to do. Adhere to the instruction. If the partner wants the materiality to be calculated on revenue, do it on revenue. If he wants it to be calculated on total assets, do it on total assets. Follow the wish of the partner, because who is the audience to whom you're writing this briefing note? To the partner. So communication skill will only be effective if you obey the wishes of the person to whom you are sending the briefing note. Adhere to the instruction. So at times the partner tell you use the exhibit 1, 2, 3 for risk of material misstatement. Then use all the 3 exhibits. If one student find the risk of material misstatement from 1 and 2, but he didn't find any risk from number 3, your communication skill marks will go down. So if the partner is saying use the 3 exhibits for risk, then you have to use 3. You need to find minimum 1 risk from each of the 3 exhibits. You can find more from one, less from the other, but not 0. At times, the partner says in the note number that you should not consider the risk of a foreign currency transaction, or you should not consider the risk of the new acquisition. Don't do that. If the partner is saying not to do this, then please don't do that. So adhere to the instruction of the partner. What is the partner telling you in the email? That is very, very important. So adhere. Number 3, begin the briefing note with a brief introduction. We know every time we write the briefing note, we start with introduction. We tell the purpose of writing the briefing note, that the purpose of writing the briefing note is to evaluate the risk and is to explain the procedures or is to investigate the ethical issues, whatever the requirements are. So requirements are put into the introduction, right? So introduction has to be brief, not very long. I prefer introduction should be 3 sentences long, not more than that. Present the response in a logical sequence, A, B, C, D. Don't change the sequence of the answer. Do it in the logical flow, because that again is effective communication. Because the partner will look at A, B, C, D. So don't change the order. Use a clear tone and an appropriate language. Use the jargons which are used in the scenario. Use the jargons which are used in the requirements. Use the language of the audit, which you must have learned by now, because you must have read so many tutor notes, so many articles, so many past paper answers. So you must be knowing the language of the auditor. So try to put things in the language of the auditor. For example, if you're saying evidence, you can say sufficient appropriate audit evidence. Or if you're saying this is insignificant, you can say this is immaterial. Or if you're saying this is significant, you can say this is material. These are very common things, right? And use headings and subheadings to break your answer. So if the partner is reading your briefing note, he will be very happy to look at the breaks, headings and subheadings. So you're making the life of the partner easier. He can really go through your briefing note very well, and the marker checking your paper. So look at these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. When you're doing the 7 recent papers, ensure that all these 6 are implemented in your answer. And you're scoring 4 out of 4 on professional skill marks related to communication. Is everyone clear? Should we move on to the next skill? Is everyone sound and clear? Okay, let's move on to the next skill. From communication skill, which we only find in the question number 1, let's move on to the other skills, which we find in question number 1, 2, and 3. What are the skills we find in all 3 questions? Commercial acumen. I believe this is a skill which is the most misunderstood. Either the student are unaware what to do, even when they're writing the answer, in their answer, naturally their answer includes commercial acumen, but they never realize it. Are you doing something extra for this? Or the answer you are writing is it within the answer? Let's see where it is important and how you know I have done it. Commercial acumen is rarely used in the AAA paper, and you will see a glimpse of that in question number one and in some of the section B questions. It's not necessarily that you find commercial acumen in both the questions of section B. You might find commercial acumen in one of the question in section B, not both. Let's see in what context this comes in and in which question commercial acumen is more popular with examiner. One question is engagement or client acceptance decision, practice management. You must have seen past paper questions where the question asks you to evaluate the methods in accepting a new client. Or you must have seen questions in the past papers, particularly in prospective financial information, forensic audit, due diligence, when you're asked to accept an engagement. You're accepting an engagement from either an existing client or you're accepting an engagement from a new client. Now, engagement means a service. Engagement is a terminology, right? So either you are accepting a new audit client or you are accepting an engagement from an existing client or a new client. Just like in the December 24 paper, you are accepting the engagement on assurance on sustainability information. Now, in that sort of questions, you need to demonstrate your commercial acumen because when you are accepting, you're considering the matters in accepting an engagement or a client, you do consider your fees. You do consider the basis of your fees. You do consider whether I should accept this engagement or I should reject this engagement. I should accept the client, I should reject the client. You have to give a conclusion. So practice management questions needs to be concluded with a sentence that the reason why you are accepting it or the reason why you're rejecting it has a commercial acumen. Because if you are accepting a client, that is an opportunity for you. That will increase your income. That will increase your fees. But if you're rejecting a client, that means you have done a cost benefit analysis that the benefits of taking on the client is less and the cost of taking on the client is more. Probably the client could be involved in money laundering, or probably the client is not very good. Probably the client is not is in the negative media spotlight. There could be some reasons like that. So you need to do the cost benefit analysis when you are concluding on practice management. Should I accept? Should I not? If the benefits are more than cost, I'll accept. But if the cost is more than benefits, I reject. That's commercial acumen. I will not like to take on a client which is risky because that will affect my reputation as an audit firm. That is commercial acumen. I will take on a client which is good. I will take on a client which does not have any client integrity issues. And I will take on a client which can boost the repute of my firm and get me the fee income. At times, you have a limiting factor. At times, you might not have competence. What if the client is good, but we don't have competence? You know, competence can also become a limiting factor in decision making. So, deciding whether to accept or deciding not to accept is where a commercial acumen is coming in because you need to do the cost benefit analysis in your decision to accept or in your decision to reject. Yes, in a practice management question, you have to conclude because conclusion is important. And that conclusion will demonstrate your commercial acumen at the end of the day because your conclusion will be important. And your conclusion might not agree, might disagree with the examiner conclusion, but at least you are making examiner happy that I know that conclusion is important in a practice management question. There is no one right and wrong conclusion. There is no one right and wrong conclusion, right? But conclusion is needed because that's the perception of a student which the examiner wants to evaluate at the end of the day. Is everyone clear? So in a practice management question, be very careful, be very watchful of your decisions, and your decision has a clear linkage with commercial acumen. Either you are rejecting because the risks are more and you don't want your firm repute to be affected, or you are accepting because the client is very good and it will bring more income prospects for your audit firm. Number two area where commercial acumen hits the paper, AAA, is business risk. In a business risk question, when you are writing the impact of a business risk on the objectives, that how the business risk will affect the profitability of the business, how the business risk will affect the market share of the business, how the business risk will affect the reputation of the business. You're talking about commercial acumen and you don't know about it. So, see, it's very natural. So when we say the profit can go down, the sales can go down, we say the business reputation would get affected. We're talking about the commercial acumen. We're talking about the reality. We're talking about the awareness we have about the business. So commercial acumen means we are having a awareness, we're having a knowledge about the business. Acumen is the knowledge, right? So in business risk, the impact of the business risk on the business objective is demonstrating the commercial acumen. And in a practice management question, your conclusion on whether to accept and whether not to accept is part of your commercial acumen. And look for the limiting factors in a practice management question. At times, client integrity could be a limiting factor. At times, ethical issues can be a limiting factor. At times, the fees could be a limiting factor, that the management don't want to give you a very high fees. Management wants to give you a low fees. At times, the competence could be a limiting factor. So look for the limiting factors to make a decision whether to accept or not. Is everyone clear with commercial acumen? Because that's the only two contexts we see commercial acumen coming into the paper. I hope you must have seen past paper questions on both, and I hope you will able to do justice when you're writing the answer. So it's not about writing something extra, but you should know when you are demonstrating it. So you're demonstrating them very naturally in the paper, right? You're demonstrating them very naturally in the paper, but you should know where are you demonstrating. Okay, now get to the two bigger skills in the paper. The two biggest skills we have in the paper is analysis and evaluation and is skepticism and judgment. I believe commercial acumen is like very less in scope. Communication is very easy to score on, but the broad skills, which I say in AAA, there are two broad skills. Let's come to that. The first of the two broad skills we have in the paper, which is basically the role of the auditor. You are a manager in almost every question of the AAA paper, and your responsibility as a manager in the AAA is to analyze and evaluate the information which has been given to you. So your role as a manager links very well with analysis and evaluation. Let's see what sort of things you need to do to impress your marker that you have done a good amount of analysis and evaluation. This skill set encompasses a broad range of abilities, like of a manager, utilized in the AAA paper, including but not limited to. Including but not limited to. So what I'm discussing with you is just an example, but it's not limited to the examples I'm giving you, but I'm trying to tell you the best of the examples, which will really help you in the March 25 exams. So it's a skill which you need to have as a manager, because the manager should have an ability to analyze and evaluate. Let's see the key examples in the paper, section A, section B. Providing conclusions. Do provide conclusions where possible, like giving a conclusion for audit risk and ROM, because an audit risk and ROM question asks you evaluate and prioritize the significant audit risk. So you need to give a conclusion at the end of your answer that from the 5 audit risk or from the 5 risk of material misstatement I wrote above, which are more significant and important and why. So giving a conclusion. Every time you get a requirement, evaluate, you need to give a conclusion. We never give conclusions for business risk, but you have to give conclusion uh, for all other requirements except for business risk, wherever the word evaluate is used, including the quality management issues, ethical issues. We conclude on ethical issues. We conclude on quality management issues. So try to provide conclusions, just like practice management question, whether to accept, whether not to accept. It's not just commercial acumen, it's also analysis and evaluation. So evaluate means to conclude something. So provide conclusions where necessary. Fully engage with case information. That's the best thing with evaluation, analysis. And analysis means to analyze the information given, to analyze the information from every aspect, fully utilize the information, go into the information, investigate the information, analyze the information. So you need to analyze the information from every aspect. So the more you involve in the information, the more you delve into the information, the better for you. Commenting on the accounting treatments. You need to comment on the accounting treatments. If you believe management has done something wrong in the accounting treatment, you need to write the right accounting treatment as well, that this is the right accounting treatment. And then you need to tell that the management has done this wrong. So what is the risk? And what is the impact of the risk? So you need to comment on the accounting treatment. So you need to write the accounting treatments, the right accounting treatments if the management has done something wrong. So justify the right accounting treatment. Commenting on the accounting treatments is one of a managerial skill, and the manager should be expert on commenting on the accounting treatments where possible across the AAA paper. Justify the why. So many times we fail to answer why. If we say this is an ethical issue, but we never say why. If we say this is a familiarity threat, we never say why. If we say this is a significant risk, we never tell why. So if you are saying that out of the 5 risks I wrote above, number 1 and number 2 are significant, why? Why number 1 and 2 are significant? Examining team is looking for your why. Examining team is looking for your reason. Why the two are important. Why the two are important. Giving why in ethical issues, giving why in quality management issues. A lot of time when we are writing the answer, we fail to write the why. So whenever you're writing the answer, ask a question to yourself, why? And you will probably answer the why in the paper. So if you're answering the why in the paper, you're getting good on analysis and evaluation. Formulating opinions. Formulate opinions. Just like in an audit report question, when you need to think about, is it material or is it material and pervasive? Will it be qualified opinion or will it be adverse opinion? Or is it something which will go into the emphasis of a matter paragraph? You need to take your opinions. You need to take your clear opinions on something. Utilizing the trends and ratios. Wherever possible, you have some numbers given. Utilize the numbers, try to find the trends, try to find the ratios from those numbers, and try to relate those ratios and trends within your answer. So at times, the student ignore the numerical information, ignore the financial information given to them. Try to utilize the financial information in a question like prospective financial information, or in a question like audit risk and risk of material misstatement, where the numbers can be crucial, where the trends in the numbers can be analyzed. Analytical procedure is part of analysis. So you need to demonstrate your analytical procedures very well where possible. Performing calculations, wherever you think a calculation can be performed in, just like you can recalculate a depreciation expense or you can recalculate the finance cost. At times, you are given the numbers in such a way that you can recalculate something. So if anything is possible, if anything can be recalculated and shown in your answer, do so. Discuss materiality wherever possible. So throughout your paper, wherever you say this is material, this is not material, you are going sound on analysis and evaluation. So determination of materialities, discussing of materialities is all part and parcel of analysis and evaluation. Proposing appropriate actions. Recommend safeguards, actions in a quality management question, actions in an ethical question. So try to recommend actions. So at times the students are not writing very good actions. They're writing generic actions. You need to write very specific actions to impress the marking team. So look at the list in front of your screen. This is not an exhaustive list. This is not an exhaustive list, right? Some of the skills are overlapping, Hamza. Just like adhering to the instruction of the partner about materiality is communication skill, that I adhere to the instruction. Calculating the materiality is part of analysis and evaluation, and taking your conclusion on materiality, that should I go with 5% of the profit or 10% of the profit, is just like you're demonstrating your judgment. So a lot of skill gets in one parameter. So some skills are overlapping, and within one subject matter, you're scoring a lot of skill marks. I hope you're clear on that, Hamza. Is everyone clear on analysis and evaluation? So will you go through this list? Will you ensure that when writing in the answer, you're ensuring all these things? Mostly we do this when you're writing the answer. If you're writing a good answer, You almost do all these things in your good answer, but you can just brush over this list to ensure you can bring a more remarkable impact to your answer. Okay. Finally, another very important skill which affects the whole paper is skepticism, which is the like which is like the behavior of the auditor, and judgment. Another broad spectrum skill. I'm giving you example of this, but again, the examples, these are just examples, but not an exhaustive list. Skepticism and judgment. Challenging management opinions and adopting a critical perspective. Throughout the paper, be negative. Throughout the paper, challenge the management perspective and opinions. Whatever the management is saying, never accept it at the first go. There could be something wrong in what the management is telling you, because at the end of the day, you need to realize that the management is the one which is involved in fabrication of the financial statement. Management is the one involved in earning management. Management is the one responsible for fraudulent financial reporting. So how would you trust them? So whatever the management is saying, think skeptically. What's wrong? What if they're telling me something? What could possibly be wrong in it? So keep your mindset negative. You will be able to identify what's wrong very easily in the exam paper. Assessing the risk of management bias. A lot of time the management is not recording something. A lot of time the management is not rectifying something. A lot of time the management is not adjusting something because they have a risk of management bias, because they want to overstate the profits. They want to get higher bonuses. A lot of time the management have a self-interest in bonuses, in remuneration, and they don't want an adjustment to affect it. They don't want any rectification to affect it. So always think that way, that if the management is not adjusting something, if the management is reluctant to adjust something, you need to think that management do have a self-interest. Management is the one who fabricates the profit, fabricates the assets, fabricates the income, and understate the expenses. And at the end of the day, they have a self-interest in bonuses. Being vigilant to the scenario, analyzing profit and revenue trends, not just profit and revenue trends, even expenses. Be vigilant. If you have numbers, be vigilant about numbers. Look at the trends in number going up, coming down, and try to relate that going up and coming down with the case information. Uh, if the revenue is going up, why? If the profits are going up, why? Are there any logical reasons? If there is any absence of logical reasons, you need to think that profits are overstated, expenses are understated, revenue is overstated. You need to keep that psyche or that negative approach with you all time throughout the AAA paper. Being vigilant. Exercise judgment on materiality. You know, if in the question number one, the partner tells you that you need to determine the materiality on profit before tax, just like Hamza was asking me, you need to determine the materiality on profit before tax. Now, I will adhere to the instruction of the partner. I will not determine the materiality on total assets. I will determine the materiality on profit before tax. Adherence is communication. Now, I will calculate the materiality 5% of the profit. I will calculate the materiality 10% of the profit. That is analysis and evaluation. Then from 5 to 10%, for example, I choose 5%, or for example, I choose 7%. I will give a justification why I choose 5, why I choose 7. That is judgment. There are three technical marks for materiality, you know, right? In question number one, we have three technical marks for materiality beside the professional skill marks. Hamza, I hope you're getting more clarity on that. So exercising the judgment on materiality, that which percentage to choose. One student can choose 5%, one can choose 10, one can choose 7. We have different answers and all are correct answers, because the examining team is saying there is no one right answer for materiality. It's only about the judgment and the basis of your judgment. So the basis of your judgment, the basis of your materiality is what is evaluated by the marker. It's not like that examiner has calculated on 7, so any student who calculate on 7 will pass. No. If examiner has done it on 7 and you've done it on 5, you're also good. You've done it on 10, very good. But what is important? Your basis, your grounds. That has to be good enough. Next, determining appropriate actions. Determining appropriate actions was also part of analysis and evaluation. Evaluate the right actions. It's also part of your judgments that pick the best actions in the case study. So see, there's overlapping. Determine the appropriate actions. So if you're writing the right actions, you're equally scoring on analysis and judgments. And prioritizing risk. In the question number one, evaluate and prioritize the significant risk. So when you write the risk, you give a conclusion that out of the 5 risks I wrote above, these 2 are important and why. Examining team is looking for your why answer. Examining team is looking for your basis of prioritization. I can have a different reason of prioritization. You can have a different reason of prioritization. I've taught this prioritization in my regular webinars, in my paid webinars to my paid students. I hope you know the way to prioritize risk. So this is some sort of things you can do around skepticism and judgment. I've given you an example for analysis and evaluation. I've given you reasons where commercial acumen can be impactful in the AAA paper, and I've given you easy marks around communication skills as well. I hope you will go over this list. I hope you will brush over this skill and you will improve upon your prospects of scoring. So you're not writing something extra for professional skills. You're not wasting time on professional skills. It's blended within your answer. 1.95 minutes per mark. So when you're writing 1 mark answer in 1.95 minutes, and 1 mark answer includes both technical and professional sides. Nothing extra for that, right? Nothing extra for that. So is that clear to all of you? Will you be sticking to professional skills? Will you be excelling on professional skills in your upcoming exams, all of you? Is everyone sound and clear on professional skills? Please ensure you go through this list again. You go through my session again. Just ensure you revise them up well and ensure you are effectively implementing it on the day of your exam. So this was the session 2 today, and the session 2 was about uh, examiner report, reading the mind of the examiner. It was about time management, and it was about professional skills in the AAA paper, and all 3 subject matters have been thoroughly covered. Now, for the next 5 minutes, you have a Q&A session. So if you have any questions, go ahead. I think there was a question from a student, Hamza, right? Hamza is asking me a question. Listen to it. Hamza is saying, "Sir, is it better to start answering and reading along or reading separately, then typing the answer?" Hamza, if you have seen my paid webinars, I don't know you are my paid student or not. Um, when we have a reading and planning time, 24 minutes in the question number 1. So we read and we keep dumping, copy pasting things in a word processor. Wherever you find any relevant thing, we keep dumping it on the word processor in 24 minutes. So in 24 minutes, we are reading, copy pasting, and pasting it on the word processor. If you find something relevant for part A, something relevant for part B, something relevant for part C, we keep dumping it under ABC. Now, once the 24 minutes are over, you have a word processor, and in the word processor, you have all the copy paste. Now, you're not going back to the exhibits. You're just looking at the word processor, and every information on the word processor you copy pasted. Now, for the next 74 minutes, you will write the answer. You will rephrase the copy paste. You will refine the copy paste. You will make copy paste into your own words, explain them, evaluate them, add value to it, and in the next 74 minutes, you are preparing the answer. That's the way we need to go with Hamza. Okay, Mia Amir is asking, "Sir, till when we are allowed to submit assignments?" Mia Amir, you are my regular student, so you can submit assignments to me till 20th of February. And Jacob, sir, about the materiality, say material or immaterial to the financial statement. Yes, even saying that has the professional marks. It's basically a judgment, right? Saying this is material, this is not material, that is exercising judgment. So wherever you exercise judgment, that's part of professional skill marks. Okay, Sheldon is asking, "Sir, in question number 1, should we connect each ROM with management bias?" No. Repeating it is not wise. Not every ROM should be connected with management bias. Any particular one where you think that there is something linked with getting a loan from a bank, something relating to management bonus, or something related with something given in a case study. At times, you're negotiating a loan, and that might become a factor for management bias. Sometimes you're getting bonuses, that becomes a factor for management bias. So, or sometimes you're seeking a listing on a stock market, and that becomes a reason of management bias. So, not all risk, yes, one and two of them can be linked to risk of management bias. And you can even give a conclusion when you're prioritizing the risk that these two are important risks because they're connected with risk of management bias, something like that, Sheldon. But not connecting every risk with management bias. That would not be a professional way to approach the answer. Even if you demonstrate a risk of management bias in like one and two risk out of the five, you're already scoring your skepticism marks. I hope you're clear on that, Sheldon. Uh, Becky, I've given that answer to my regular students in my paid courses. I don't know you are in my paid courses or not. That you need to answer the audit risk and ROM in the order, Exhibit 1, Exhibit 2, Exhibit 3, in whichever order you're finding the risk. Write the risk and then give a conclusion that out of the six risk I wrote or seven risk I wrote above, these two are important and why. That's how you prioritize them. So just write them in any order, give a conclusion, and in the conclusion tell that these two are important and why. That's how you go down easiest way to prioritize the risk. I hope you're clear on that, Becky. Okay, great. Okay, then thank you so much, all of you, for taking your time out coming into this live webinar for March 25. This is your tutor, Kashif Kamran, signing off. I wish you all the very best of luck for your upcoming March 25 exams. I will be posting lots of more informative stuff about AAA in the next 5 to 6 days to come. So stay tuned on my social media pages and the WhatsApp group, wherever you are. So I'll be sharing lots of more informative videos and sessions with you. But the webinar is coming to the end, the day one and the day two. I hope you will largely benefit from it. I wish you all success. Please ensure you stick to time management. You do seven recent papers under time management, and all the things which has been guided to you are effectively implemented over the seven recent papers to excel in March 25 exams. I want you all to score high, very good marks, and I wish you all the very best of luck. Take care. Have a nice day. Study effectively. Your tutor, Kashif Kamran, signing off.